Greetings. Thank you for joining me. My name is Antonio Alacina. I'm your host for Masculine Militia. And today we have a conversation, a discussion that I like to have um, that is what I've seen anyway. A talk, at least in what people call the conscious community, um, about reparations. And there's some pros and cons. There are some um, I'm sorry. There's some pros and cons. There are some people who are saying that we shouldn't get reparations, and they're not just all white people saying that. There's some black people that say we should just move on. A lot of times, as when I hear the conversation, people think that we're post-racial, or we should just let it pass, or just let it go, or all these types of arguments or whatnot. But today, I wanted to bring in some guests who I think may have something to say, to educate, to enlighten, to tell us something that we probably don't know. I like to know some things about it myself personally. And the first of which will be Brother Rasaad Singleton. He's the he has something called the National Reparations League. And he's an activist, he's an author, he's a brother he's in the fight, not just on social media, but definitely in the community. I see this brother in the community and I see him doing his thing. And so we're going to talk with him. He's going to be here shortly. And we have Sister High Heels. I'm sorry, Sister High Heels, who she can tell you who she is. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead, sister.
Peace and blessings, beautiful people. It's the girl High Heels. I am a host of a show called Oracle Connects on Black Ink Radio. I guess I'm starting to get called the Conscious Oprah. Uh, so welcome. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
My pleasure. Um, we also have, well, you know what? She hadn't come in yet, from what I can tell. We have Chief Janice. Chief Janice is a woman who is a land activist. I think that I want her to explain what that is, but from my understanding of what a land activist is, she is an advocate for Native people who, by many of us call Black people in America, to get land that is owed to us. Okay, there are a lot of agreements, there are a lot of treaties, there are a lot of things that she brings up that she says makes it where we should have land that was stolen. Okay, now we know the land is stolen. I think we know the land is stolen, but she's saying that, and from my understanding, and she can correct me once she gets here. Um, I'm sorry. She can correct me once she gets here. Um, but she says basically that people who were natives, Black people, most of us call them, not only own the land, but there are many documents that show that many of us can still actually go according to those documents to get the land, to get our land. So as I said, I don't see them. Hold on just a second. Let me make sure. I don't see them.
Are they coming in on the live stream or are they coming in person?
They're going to come in through the app, the interview. They're going to be in electronically, yes. So what'll happen is they'll come in to the broadcast, and then they'll be on the broadcast just like we are. Just okay. Hold on a second. We're gonna get it taken care of. Well, I'll tell you what. We will have to start, it seems, before they get here.
Okay.
Because the they haven't entered the chat. They haven't entered the broadcast just yet. So it looks like it's just me and you.
Okay. Well, let's do it. Let's do it.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm gonna tell you. one of the things I was going to ask, and I was going to talk to the brother Rasaad about once he gets here, is what reparations is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I think that a lot of times a lot of us don't really know. I mean, it sounds like it would be self-explanatory, I guess, to some,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people don't seem to know what that is. And now I don't know if I'm not saying that you or I definitely are experts on what reparations is or
Mm-hmm.
anything about reparations, because the reparations movement is very large right now.
Right. Right.
But it has different facets. It has different things that people think about it, you know what I'm saying, inside the movement.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as reparations, I'm not going to necessarily ask you what it is, but what I do want to ask you is, what do you generally think about Black people receiving reparations? Is it due?
Mm-hmm.
Does America owe Black people? I mean, do
Well,
you think that?
it depends on how you would define what reparations looks like. For me, I never think that it's good to throw money at any kind of problem. So I personally don't believe in just giving Black people money. I think that reparations, when we talk reparations, that means that you are righting the wrongs of an unjust or wrongdoings, right? So now when we talk reparations, we're righting the wrongs of slavery. But then when we talk righting the wrongs of slavery, that leads over to Jim Crow, that leads over to segregation, that leads over to all the inequalities, that leads over to systemic racism. So that's really, we've been dealing with that since we've been in this country. So money is not going to be what will fix the problem. That's not going to right the wrong. So I don't necessarily believe in just giving money for reparations.
Well, what do you think? If you don't believe in money, which not just money,
Right.
You're not saying not money at all. You're saying not just money.
Yeah, because
Right.
well, I mean, money is not what's going to fix the problem.
Right.
Like when we look at, okay, we got to go for a little history lesson.
Okay.
When we think about slavery was abolished 1865, right? But then we had Jim Crow, 1896. That's when we had Plessy versus Ferguson. So
Okay.
that's what said that separate was equal. So that's where we had the whole Jim Crow era. Not until 1954, 1955, we had Brown versus Board of Education.
Mm-hmm.
So that said now separate is not equal. So now we have Jim Crow dismantled, right?
Okay.
Overturned. So then not until 1964, 65 did we actually have the Civil Rights Bill, right?
Right.
So now that's when we're having our right to vote. That's when on paper we're having some sort of equality legally. But then there's still people that didn't follow suit. So I feel like money will not fix that problem because we had so much segregation in schools. We had segregation in the ability to be able to buy homes. Even when we look at post World War II,
Mm-hmm.
all of that. A lot of our soldiers didn't get what their military got when we saw the intro to the middle class. We were pushed out of a lot of things. So money is not going to help. I feel like, one, we have to challenge education. Like, we have segregated schools still based off of just the zoning of schools. Like, you would have to do something like rezone schools, like redraw the zoning lines to actually integrate schools. Then you have to face college. Like, most Black people do not go to college, but I feel like Black people should have free college and not just your regular 4-year college. I'm talking about like to be able to go be a lawyer, doctor, if you want to be an MBA, if you want to get your PhD, whatever that is, I feel like Black people should have that for free. That's part of reparations.
Okay. Well, with that being said, because the thing is going to be, okay, I'm beginning. I got a thing. The thing is going to be for. Hold on, just a second. The thing is going to be for a lot of people, especially the majority community.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be on some. You're talking about for free. They're all about this for free thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to being getting things for free, education or the money, just paying the money out, period, is going to come from these people, right? The majority community, at least they feel like it's them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? What can we say to them? And it's not that I'm into necessarily convincing them.
Mm-hmm.
You dig? In terms of
Who is them specifically?
them being the majority community, white people.
Okay.
You know
Okay.
what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm not, necessarily saying we should. One second. I'm sorry. That we should necessarily have to convince them of what we are doing. However, the even some black people are saying they're taking that same argument
Mm-hmm.
to say, well, we got to pay for this. Where's the money going to come from? All of these things. So, in my view, I'm looking at not only where the money's coming from, but in order to even talk about that, we're going to have to talk about who benefited from it. You
Mm-hmm.
dig what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the government, companies, corporations, these types of things. And so, even though I think reparations is going to be an interconnected, interactive type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, how do what the argument that we're going to have to give people to see that is going. I mean, it's like this is one of the issues that I have. I'm looking at. It's like, how do we tell people? How do we convince people? Like, listen, y'all owe us. Y'all owe us for this, instead of thinking that they're giving us something.
Mm-hmm.
Are you following what I'm saying?
I understand.
And so education, not just money. It could be with land. It could be with all types of things. You dig what I'm saying? And I'm not sure if you would like to go into that or not.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I put it this way. One of the biggest things right now that has been in the news and on everybody's lips is critical race theory.
Okay.
Now, taking that out of schools, that means that now you're trying to erase that from your memory. You're trying to erase that from your psyche. So that in itself reminds you that you owe us. And really, not even, I won't say all of us, you owe foundational Black Americans, because those are the people that really did suffer from slavery and from Jim Crow the most, is because these were the people that built this country. So foundational Black Americans, yeah, we need to remind you of that. Critical race theory is actually very imperative. As far as giving us something for free, I mean, did people have did people have an opposition for Jews to get reparations, or was it something that they felt they were owed? And I think that when I go back to the critical race theory being taken out of schools, is because they already are trying to erase that from their memory. And I don't feel like it's something that we need to convince them of, because they live off of our backs even now. When we look at hip hop, we look at the hip hop industry, where it's still Black people that are samboed in front of our faces, but they still are making money off of us constantly. And the people that we gave reparations to, the Jews that got their reparations, those is the people making the most money. Because that's what they did with their money that they got from the Holocaust, was that they run the industry. So no, I don't really feel like we need to convince anybody that we need that. That's something that's just a given. And when you ask where the money's coming from, where did the money come from to give them their reparations? I think that's the problem, is that they forget real quickly that this country was built by us.
So it's like, where did the money come from? Now, the question should be more about where did the money go.
Yeah, well, we know where the money went. I mean, and I don't want to get too into it, because then you get accusations put against you about being anti certain things, which I'm not. But I am educated. I know that people know me as a healer, and me as a spiritual chick, but a lot of people don't know, like, I went to UCLA. Like, I studied history and public affairs. You know what I'm saying? I helped write policy. Like, my first thing before I became a healer was that I wanted to be a U.S. senator. I wanted to battle the prison industrial complex. So that's where I come from with it. So when I'm speaking from a place of knowledge and education, that we know where the money went when they got theirs. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You know what? Let me pause it for just a second.
Go ahead.
I'm having an issue bringing, because I know brother Rasaad was on.
Oh, he's there now?
He's been there.
Oh, okay.
But what I've had an issue is getting him on.
Oh, we got some technical things.
Right, and he says it just says connecting.
Oh.
And I think it may be on my end, Rasaad, because I know you're looking at. I know you can see me.
Okay.
I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on. Do me a favor. Well, it's not even taking anything now. because I was like trying to see if it's the internet or because the internet should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So let's. It says just connecting. Okay, that's what he just told me. God, man,
Yeah,
it's
let's
gonna
see
be.
what we see on this end.
Yeah, it's gonna be something. But yeah, but these.
And this is the visuals on your end. So maybe are you trying to bring him in?
Okay,
That's
you know
him.
what? That right there. I was trying to bring him in. It just went back right.
Hmm.
It should be back here now.
Let me see.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm technical. Yep. Okay. Yeah, it's back to you
It's
now.
back to me, but
Yeah.
but the thing is, it's he says it's connecting, which means I'm not getting I'm not getting a yeah, no. I'm getting told the same thing. I'm
Oh.
not getting a an alert to
Okay.
to allow them in.
Oh.
So
Okay.
he's saying that they are getting that he's trying to get in,
Okay.
but I'm not getting the alert. I'm not getting anything to be like a click and let him in.
Okay. Are you using StreamYard?
No, actually, I'm streaming through my ATEM Mini. Oh, there it is.
Boom.
There you go.
Welcome.
Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Add to the right.
Yes. Yes. I want to hear the brother speak on some reparations.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Brother, can you hear me? There he is.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
Mr. Rashad. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Will I be able to
It
see
don't
your
seem like
hand?
he hearing me. Brother Rashad. Okay.
Oh, I see him.
Can you hear me, big brother? You can't hear me? I can't hear
Yes,
you.
sir. I hear you. Can you hear me,
Oh, okay.
brother?
Well,
Oh,
there you are.
Shalom,
Yeah, you
shalom.
coming in.
hey.
What's happening, big brother?
All praises to the Most High.
No
All
question
praise to the
about it.
Most High family. I was trying to figure it out. You know, I'm a little. I turn into an old head sometime with these new links and gadgets and apps and whatnot. You got to forgive me. I apologize, but
It's all gravy, brother. It's
great to
all
be
gravy.
here. I appreciate you having me. Yes,
No,
yes, sir.
I appreciate you coming in. I hate the technical difficulty happened, but we here now, so you know what I'm saying. Let's get to it. It's good to see
Yes,
you.
sir.
You know what I'm saying. I did a short
Likewise.
kind. Yes, sir. I did a short kind of introduction um, of you, um,
Mm-hmm.
but I want
Mm-hmm.
you to tell me or tell us who you are. Tell us about the National Reparations League,
Yes,
and
sir.
um, and we'll get into the rest of that after that, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Kick it off.
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Yes, my name is Rasaad Singleton. Uh, I'm a professional basketball player, raised in the South, raised in Florida. Went to the University of Georgia. Went on to play professional basketball as well. Got on with the Knicks a little bit. Did a little summer league thing, and went on to play overseas for a long time. Played a few years in Japan. Played in Europe. Played in Africa. Played in Central America. And for a country boy like me, you know, that was like seeing the world. You know, I
Right.
always envied students who did like study abroad or whatever. You know, as an athlete, you at practice. You know, you see students coming from Europe and France. You're like, oh, okay, that's cool. You know, you don't know nothing about that. So it was a great opportunity because you know when you're able to travel, you're able to see how other cultures interact with each other. You realize racism isn't as rampant as it here is. You realize the one thing that really shook me was that when I went to different countries, the people own their own businesses. When I
Mm-hmm.
went to Japan, the Japanese owned their own businesses. When I went to Romania, Romanians owned their own businesses. When I went to Angola, the Angolans owned their own business. I'm talking about it's a black owned bakery by a black owned grocery store by a black owned electric company. Everything is black, 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 black. But when I would come back home to America, everything was white.
Mm.
And I took
Mm.
issue with that. Um, Traveling around the world will make you realize United States isn't as perfect as she likes to put out.
Right.
Um, and at the same time, brother, in the middle of me playing professional basketball overseas, they started killing us crazy. This was around the Trayvon Martin, Philando Castle. out in Sterling.
Mm.
My sister Sandra Bland. I mean, it was just back to back to back around that 2014, 2015 time. And, brother, I just began to really try to research what has this been about? What is this war on my people? Maybe I'm getting caught up in just being an athlete and not understanding what's really happening to my community. So I began to read. I began to read books like The Blueprint to Black Power by Dr. Amos Wilson.
Mm.
I began to read books like The Miseducation of the Negro by Dr.
Mm.
Carter Woodson. I began to dive into all of these things. We came before Columbus. You understand what I'm saying? Dr. John Henry Clark, all the master teachers. And the first thing I had to ask myself was, why in the hell we wasn't taught this in school?
Yeah.
Y'all had us learning To Kill a Mockingbird
Mm-hmm.
and to
Right.
all this bull crap, and you wonder why our black children don't connect with the education, because it ain't made for us. You know what I'm saying? So, brother, just diving into it, just seeing what the war's been about, and then I just realized, um, after everything we've been through with slavery and black codes and Jim Crow laws, uh, the one thing that separated us is that we didn't get reparations for our atrocities.
Mm.
Now, let me be clear about that. So called Jewish people got reparations, they
Right.
got land and money.
Right.
Native Americans got land and money.
Right.
Uh, Japanese Americans in the 80s got a lot of money. Some of them still get free scholarships to their day. To this day, their descendants.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Slave masters, as I'm sure we all know by now, got $300 per slave freed, and we talking in the 1800s. That was a pretty. That's something. That was pretty good money.
Yeah.
Black folks, we didn't get nothing. We got told, "Hey, we're all equal. Figure it out." Oh, they gave us jobs in the civil rights. They said, "Hey, you can come work for us."
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
leeches, leeches on our skill, leeches on our talent, leeches on our energy. There's no way we can never survive working for our oppressor. But that's what they did. They said, y'all come work for us. And we was excited to get jobs, and then we realized we wasn't getting promotions. Yeah, many of our family members in the military would come home and complain about not getting promotions in the military,
Mm.
and it was rampant. So we realized working for white people ain't the answer neither.
Mm-hmm.
We've tried many different things. It's a lot of black-owned banks out here. It's black-owned millionaire athletes. You can't have no more millionaire athletes and entertainers, but that ain't fixing the answer neither.
Let me
No,
ask you. Let me ask you something.
reparations is the issue that hasn't been addressed. Yes, sir.
I think it's a delay, so my latency is a little. So my apologies about that. But yeah, I mean, following what you're saying, it's like um, with with what you're saying. Like for example, we get jobs, we get money. You have black millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
You have you have a couple of us being billionaires, and no matter how
Mm-hmm.
much money we get, it's like there's still well, first of all, this notion that black people, um, that the masses of black people is getting money. Now, of course, there's some statistics that show
Right.
that we are supposed to be, growing in the middle class. But then there are other statistics to show
Mm-hmm.
rampant racism in banking, rampant racism in real estate, rampant racism systematically as it concerns black people, in how in any attempt for us to gain any kind of real wealth, right? So it's this
Yes,
movement
sir.
among many of us where we want generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna say this about
Mm-hmm.
generational wealth because I want to piggyback on something you're saying. I personally,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand how we think about generational wealth, but you have, I think you can go and ask the people in Rosewood, in Tulsa, in many of the communities that were
Mm-hmm.
besieged and destroyed about generational wealth,
That's
because
right.
these people
Mm-hmm.
do not care how much money you get, how much you amass, because they will come and just simply
Mm-hmm.
take it and justify it. And I think that we are living in a
Oh
time where
yeah.
we don't believe that. It is. We think, well, oh no, you got these billionaires,
Mm-hmm.
you got people with money, so forth and so on. The thing, in my view, as far as when it comes, because when you're talking about, we think, we get jobs. We when we got off the plantation, basically, they basically didn't, they didn't not unenslave us. They just work. They just had a workaround.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
so what I'm,
They say we're
what,
gonna let you work our land. You could live here, just work the
Just
land.
working.
Like that's
right?
still slavery.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So we still, they had a workaround for us to to still work, to still be slaves. And so what, coming back to you, and then I'm gonna get to
Yeah.
sister, is the workaround. We never got any therapy. We just, it. You
No,
got
sir.
people, right? I
No, we
was
didn't.
looking at a school one time back in, I think, about 2012 here in Atlanta. There was a young
Mm-hmm.
guy. I'm sorry. There was a little boy that came in, and he had a butter knife that he brought from home. He brought a butter knife from home.
Mm-hmm.
No other children, I think it was one other child that realized that he brought the butter knife. One.
Mm-hmm.
Just by the fact it was a school, a majority white school, or all white elementary school here in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Just the fact that he brought the knife to school, all the other children were offered counseling.
Ha! Ha!
You know what I'm saying? All the other children were offered counseling for the, brother, you still there? All the other children were offered counseling, and I want to continue because I'm sure he'll get back.
Yeah.
Other children were offered counseling just by the fact that they heard
That he brought a.
that he brought a butter knife,
Mm-hmm.
that no other students, I think it was one other student, saw it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was him sharing what he had with the other student.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look what I got. The teacher saw it, and when she did, he of course got in trouble, and but no real trouble, because I'm
Right.
sure if there was a black child, he had done that, then he had them all, they had handcuffs on and everything. But he ended up having, the whole school was offered, the other children were offered counseling just by him bringing the butter knife.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine 300 years, 360 years,
365, I believe.
and then you still had Jim Crow and all this other stuff and all the other things that are happening to us. Yet when we left, no counseling,
No.
no therapy,
No.
just going out there. And then when you see us today
Yeah.
in the condition that we're in, when we see each other,
Yes.
we judge us based on a diminished person.
Yes.
The things that we do, the people that we are, we're looking at diminished people, but we don't believe we're diminished
Mm-hmm.
because we can go get a job and make some money, or, and some people would be like, where I made it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why you ain't make it,
Mm-hmm.
And so we have that. And the crazy part for me is that many of us, as far as black people, we go for it. This is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. No. Don't worry about slavery. That was 500 years ago, or some. And I
Right.
understand the impact that it still has on us today.
Right.
And so when he was talking about, how we got released from slavery and all these things, and how it's the impact that is a part of the calculus in terms of the reparations that we deserve.
Yes.
You're talking
Yes.
about the work. That's a big, of course, it's a giant impact.
Yeah.
Just the working for nothing.
Right.
But how about losing your name, your language?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, your way of worship.
Yes.
I mean,
Everything.
you've been stripped, so it's like, how do you then pay someone for that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And so I think that when I see white people,
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's their issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's how do you pay for? Okay, no, that's the other one. I'm sorry. How do you pay for? Here he is. He came back. How do you pay for? Hold on a second, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we got brother back. How do you pay for something with such gravity?
Right.
See, they feel they would never be able to do it.
Yes.
It's a systems change type of thing.
Yes.
It's like there's nothing under this system as it is, as it's presently constructed, that will cause them to be able to pay.
Right.
This is how they feel.
Right.
So this is what I want to get to about reparations and say, well, it's like, how can we even get them to a point to feel like they can even pay us? Because they know what they took from us is in such a way that it's like, they can't be paid.
There's no money for that.
There's no money. There's
Yeah.
nothing. It's like you have to restore. Sorry, let me get
Go
you would have to restore us
Yes.
to who we were first,
Right.
and they never would be able to do that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the restoration to who we were before, that's just not possible. But it's because of systemic racism. There has to be a whole change in our processes, in our system, in our foundation, in our function. Because even he talked about the Native Americans and how they have land, they don't pay taxes. I think that when people keep saying, also, one thing that I kind of don't like.
Okay.
When people talk about how long ago slavery was, I feel like we have to really keep into context. So the last thing I talked about in my little history review was that the Civil Rights Bill, that the voting rights, that was 1965. That was only 57 years ago. Like my ex-husband, his father could not read. And it wasn't because of anything, but he was going to a crappy school. Because he went to a black school, because he came up in segregation,
Black only, right?
And so I'm like, when you think of those types of things, like one of the things I studied when I was at UCLA, I talked a lot about education, and I talked a lot about, part of the problem that a lot of students had in the inner city was that, suburban kids can go ask their parents for help with the homework. A lot of the kids in the inner city, their parents didn't even know how to read. So how are you going to help your kids with work? So that's why I feel like with reparations, I might get flack, but I don't believe in giving money for reparations. I believe that you got to really hold them by the balls in a different way and force them to actually change the systemic racism that has plagued us for centuries since we've been in this country, which is a result of not just money, but that's in education. That's in actually having your credit score. Credit scores are affected by just being black. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Even when we talk about your student loan, not student loans, but loans for homes. You know what I'm saying? All of these things are affected by systemic racism. And so it takes a lot more than money. And so I know white people, that's why they try to just shut it off, because they're like, that's like a house that's just dilapidated. Like, let's just burn it down. Like, let's just, you know what I'm saying?
In fact, I'm gonna tell you, I've said something about this to other people, well, in groups, and I've spoken to people. I remember there was a point, I'm not gonna go through every aspect of it, of course, but there was a point where I was talking to a group of people it was only one other black person.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he introduced me to this group, right? Because he was kind of like in the Snow Bunny. He was Snow Bunny Crisis.
Wow.
But it was a guy that I knew.
Confused.
Yeah. And I went to this bar in Buckhead. Okay, you back. Okay, give us a second, brother. Thank you. I went to this bar in Buckhead,
Mm.
And so we were talking, and it's like majority. I'm sorry, majority. Hey. My
Hi.
apologies. We just got Chief Janice into the broadcast also. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. We've already kind of gotten into it, so I'm gonna continue with my point. Then we're gonna bring
Okay.
everybody else back in, right?
Okay.
So what happened is I'm talking to him, and so we're talking. These are liberal white people and a few Asians,
White
which
guilt,
are-
white people.
yeah, they, white adjacent. So we are talking, and I'm like, yeah, they liberal, they want equality for everybody, and where I'm going is, okay, that's great, but in my view, the only way that that's going to happen is if we actually destroy the system of that we have presently. And when you speak like that, people feel tense. You dig what I'm saying? It's like when you speak about destroying the system that we have, there was this podcast, the name of this podcast is Masculine Militia.
Yes.
The fact that I call it masculine militia, it's like I've talked to people, and it's like they have something that they're not really with. Like, I mean, well, like why you call it that? You make clutching your pearls and so forth. So it's like the system, going back to that, that we have. I'm talking to them. I'm like, well, yeah, we could do these things, we can do that, but this system is not going to allow that. Blah 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 blah. And so one of I think it was the Asian girl. Interesting. She was like, and I didn't even say this, but this is what she said. She said, "Well, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, don't you think that black supremacy is just as bad as white supremacy?"
Ha.
This is what she said to me.
Yeah.
And my response immediately was like, I said, "Well, you don't know it. You've never lived under black supremacy.
Exactly.
You don't know what that's about." You know what I'm saying? So it's the I think that reparations, the very fear of reparations for who we call black people in America, has to do with the thought of the destruction of the rule of the majority people, so-called majority. I don't even think they're a majority actually, but it has something to do with, they really believe that we are going to destroy their rule.
Yes.
Not that they mind paying us, because they don't mind paying everybody.
Right.
But when it comes to us, they know they've taken so much away from us that that everything that they have to give us, or that they would have to pay us, would be like something that would just destroy the rule that they have. And I think that that's their issue.
Yes.
However,
yes.
I want to, brother, I got Brother Rasaad still in. Thank you for coming back. And I want to bring Sister Janice in.
You mind if I say one thing?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You kind of hit a nail on the head there.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not about a fear of reparations or wondering where it's coming from. It's the fear of the dismantling of white supremacy. Because white people, they don't want to admit this, but they know that they are privileged. They know that they have that white privilege, and they live in fear of what life would be like without that white supremacy, because they see what we've gone through. They know it. We don't have to prove that to them, but it's that underlying fear of the loss of white supremacy. So I just, you hit on that, and I'm like, yes, that is actually every bit of it, because they are so comfortable that they wouldn't want to have to live like us.
Yeah. And you know what? And I agree, definitely. That's what I was saying. And hello, are we there, Janice?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Good. No, good point. This is that's the thing. It's the dismantling of black power.
Mm-hmm. Of their white power.
Yeah, because I have a organization. It's called Black Power Alliance. Mm-hmm. I started it last year, but I haven't really done a lot with it just yet. But I'm coming. And I was talking to somebody about a black person. Mm-hmm. They were like, "Well, why you call it Black Power though?"
Oh wow,
I swear that's what they said.
Real. Self-hate is real.
What the hell? I said, yeah, because Black Power just seems like it's just too radical. You know
what
I'm saying?
Oh my God.
So anyway,
self-hate is real.
Janice, I don't know if you've been in on the conversation. I don't know how long you've been in or whatever, but you can go ahead if you don't mind and introduce yourself to everybody, to the audience and to the rest of the
Hi, everybody. I am Chief Janice. I'm an opera singer actually, but I jumped into activism um, about around 2013, just helping the homeless in Atlanta on a large scale with Star Social Club. That's how I know met
Mm-hmm.
Antonio here, and here today looks like I've slid into another realm of activism, social activism, if you will, but I call it land activism because I'm helping Negro families get their heirs' property back and discover their heirs' property via their lineage. I jumped into this conversation about around 2019 when I released two documentaries. And the reason I did it was because of the reparations conversation. I noticed that there wasn't a lot of historical context being added to the conversation. I also noticed that there were so many outsiders adding fluff, if you will, into the conversation. So, as a woman from the South, I know the history that's kind of hidden, the kind of history that gets you kicked off of social media. I mean, I've been kicked off of every platform. I don't know how many. I may be on my fourth, fifth page. I'm not sure. I just got kicked off of YouTube a few weeks ago. Right before I hit the 100,000 mark. So the type of history that we know here in the South is what white people fear. And so that's the part that I'm adding to the reparations conversation. Here in the South, we know about heirs property, and it is a situation where we were told one thing about slavery and one thing about we were from Africa, but then when you peel back the layers, and even when you talk to the elders, they don't know anything about Africa. They don't even know anything about slavery. They know that their ancestors, their great granddads, and them owned farms. They know that they worked the farm. They know that they picked peas and they picked tobacco, but it wasn't slavery to them because it was their family's farm. It was their family's heirs property. And so I went, digging through the records to back the stories that I kept hearing in my family and others' family, and I uncovered that not only did our ancestors own the land here, they were smart enough to do what's called patent. They patented the land, just like they patent their inventions. They also patented their property. And it's amazing that this piece of information is being totally dismissed. So when you introduce the heirs property, the patented lands, you have to factor in commodities, the loss of commodities, the loss of land. You go into the World Wars, World War I and World War II, and you look at the Lend-Lease Act. America literally provided trillions of dollars. I'm talking in the 1930s, all the way up and through to the end of World War II. Trillions of dollars to every continent, Africa, Asia, Europe, every continent. And that came directly from over 900, literally, brother, I wish I was lying, over 900,000 Negro farmers here in America who was on heirs property, who was sent running because they were being murdered by KKK and all these militia groups. They were being murdered off their land, murdered out of cities, lynched. This was an era where our group, the group of ancestors who we've kind of forgotten about, they were literally tortured over their land. And then the farms were split up, the banks were closed, they had their own banking system, they were running their own thing. And so when we talk about reparations, we have to factor all of that in. I don't want to hear anything about a slavery-based reparation, because if you do a slavery-based reparations, then you have to factor in all of the millions of white people that came in after World War I and World War II as indentured servants. Then you have to factor in the Asians who came in and started working for the CCC as indentured servants. So that slavery reparations conversation is too broad of a conversation. But if we narrow it down to who patented the land, Who had these commodities? Who owned these farms? Whose banking system was shut down? Now we have a conversation, and now we can tailor it. I hear so many rumors about, oh, we can't get reparations because we're not a nation. That's false. Look at your families. Look at the lineage. Look, they tried to leave us something, and it was ripped away.
Let me.
And it's
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me say this. I wanted to because I want to take something you said and I want to send it back to brother. Okay, brother Rasaad Singleton. He's the he has the National Reparations League, and we have him on. I think you know that, but I don't know if you know can see him just yet. But I want to hit something you just said because the definitely the definition of um, slavery um, should be um, what you call it? It should be narrowed. I
mm-hmm,
agree. I agree. It should be narrowed,
mm-hmm,
and it should be narrowed in one sense, but then another sense it should be broadened. And I'm gonna tell you what I mean. Definitely narrowed to the natives because I know that and I'm not sure if this is a fact or not in terms of what you think about this, Janice. Um, but many people, there's a growing number of people who think that the um, the natives here were what people call black people,
mm-hmm,
and that there was no transatlantic slave trade.
mm-hmm,
Now, I am one of the people that believe both can be true.
mm-hmm,
However, I don't think that should be an issue, as far as I'm concerned.
mm-hmm.
The things that you are talking about, that is definitely, like the land, the patents, the things that we can actually track. That is
Yeah,
track, very, like in that way, that is
yeah,
one way that we definitely need to look at.
mm-hmm,
Also, though, is that we definitely want it to be what people call foundation. There's now being called foundational Black Americans. Um, even though we had Black people, natives on this land by the time Christopher Columbus, I forgot his real name because he changed it to Christopher Columbus, but the by the time he got here and so-called discovered this land, this guy or those people, they were Johnny come latelys because we had been coming back and forth here forever. Okay, so as far as us coming here and being on this land, that is one part. I mean, of course we were here. Of course there was plenty of us here. You know what I'm saying? We had been here at least 15,000 years before there was a such thing as a Columbus.
mm-hmm,
However, I do think that regardless of the natives that were here, I think they're still us. And even those that were brought here, which, like I said, that's debatable. But whatever the case is, that has to be very narrow. That
it
can't
does.
include the Asians. That can't include nobody else. That can't even include, in my view, it can't even include people brought after a certain point
Mm-hmm,
into America. Because
mm-hmm,
now you're actually an immigrant and you're not brought here as a slave. Because there's some who've come as immigrants
Mm-hmm.
to America, even in the late 1800s, that because of the discrimination and the laws that were concerning Black people generally, they are now connected to us who were already here and went through the things that we went through in terms of slavery and so forth and so on. So anyway, hopefully I'm not being convoluted, but the narrow, there should be a narrowness in that, but in terms of what we're able to get from them, because like you're talking about the land leases and these types of things like that. That's one. The other is definitely the labor, because a lot of times
Oh, I'm sorry to cut you, brother.
Go
To
ahead.
add context to the land lease agreement, The
Okay.
land lease agreement that was put into place, those were the commodities. It wasn't just land, it was what was farmed on the land. So you had oil being sent from America to every country. You had gold being sent. You had sweet
Ah.
potatoes being sent. That was the land lease agreement.
Okay.
That yeah, that was put in place. So these commodities were controlled by indigenous Negro Americans, and these people, they were able to have heirs property passed down to them because their ancestors who were able to acquire the land were indigenous to the land. They knew how to farm the land. They weren't foreigners. So a lot of the commodities that they had here on the land, even in the 1800s, early 1900s, these commodities weren't in Africa yet. It's so funny that they talk about the rice and the people who came supposedly on the Atlantic slave trade, and they came over here to farm rice. Well, they didn't even have this commodity in Africa at the time of the 1600s. In
Right.
fact, when we trace the 20 and odd supposed people who came over here during the transatlantic slave trade, the only record that we can find of a slave trade, the boat came from Angola to the Caribbean, from the Caribbean to what's now Hampton.
Hmm.
Um, and that was 20 and odd people. Now those people are dead. They didn't have a lineage. Literally, nobody survived out of those 20 people. So if nobody survived, and they were traded for corn, might I add
Hmm.
that little bit.
Right.
So 20 people was traded for maize, which is corn,
Hmm.
and those people perished. But there were already millions, literally, of dark skinned people over here in America, and we are the descendants of those. Now, you mentioned foundational Black Americans. Now, I understand that movement. However, that movement and that flag, I think Tariq, uh,
Nasheed.
Nashi.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Tariq, he dated that to the 1500s. Now, I have records, you know, that will put us way past the 1500s. So that would still be considered a group of foreigners. Now, although they mixed in, those were the Spaniards who came over
Right.
with Christopher Columbus. These would be dark skinned men who came over. A lot of them were murdered when they got over here. In fact, there was a voyage, I think it's 1547, that came up through the panhandle of Florida. Every single person on the voyage was murdered. So even DeSoto, he was murdered over here.
Right.
But we have the records. All we know is what's available now. There's some records over in the Vatican that kind of chronicles DeSoto's journey and
Right.
what he saw on the land, and he talking back and forth to whoever sent him. And so we have these foreigners who are trying to lay claim to America by way of these Spaniard Moorish people who came as colonizers in the 1500s.
Hmm.
So those who survived were kicked off the land literally up until the Indian Wars in the late 1600s, 1700s. So you still have this timeline. And the reason why you have these people that's trying to say, okay, we're indigenous now, we're indigenous, that's kind of a fight over who is indigenous, is
Hmm.
because we're still here in America. We're on the richest soil in the world, still to this day, because we have the copper. We grow more copper than we have more copper in our land than any other place in the world. We have the purest gold than any place in the world. Gold was first discovered here in Georgia, not Africa, Georgia. And so we have silver mines all over the place. We have titanium. In fact, our copper that's grown in the Midwest, our leftover copper is then sent to other countries, other continents. So people are literally using our leftovers. That makes us a superpower. And the only people who have titles to this land in America are people who look like you and I. And I think that fact, because we have the records to back this, Department of Interior have the records. The Bureau of Land Management have the records with our names on them, our ancestors' names on them. We can't find the slave ships, so no need to keep harping on that. We found one. We can't find the 20 people in the lineage of the 20 people because they're dead. So if they died, then how were we even born? Just like the slave trade that they said, oh, the Igbos came over here and 90% of Black Americans are Igbos, but at the same time, they said the Igbos drowned themselves in order to not be slaves in America. Well, if they drowned themselves, then how are we descended from them?
Okay.
It makes no sense.
No. That's actually a debate or a discussion for something else in terms of that. I mean, because there's a lot that can be said about that. I think that for me, and I'm gonna go to Brother Rasaad, is when you said, I'm talking about when Janice, when you said the resources, the natural resources that we own before being kicked off the land. So if we own this land, we're farming this land, and now they find oil on it.
Yep.
So now that money, I mean, it's not just the land itself, but it's what was under the soil.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is, in terms of, it's not just about who gets reparations. In terms of what you were saying, for example, whether it be slave ships, which there's some records of others, but that's, like I said, it's another debate. But whether there's some slave ships or whether they weren't, the issue is, because it's just like, to me, when we talk about reparations and when we talk about these types of things, and then we're talking about, and then we end up talking about the things that separate us. Religion and all kinds of whatever. We got all this stuff that separates us. It is definitely something that needs to be said in terms of who gets what, because we don't want other people to come in and get something that they shouldn't get, which would be basically like stealing from those of us who should get it.
Right.
I get that. What I'm saying basically is those of us who, and I say us, including myself in that, who should get reparations. That's one thing. Now the people because even though these land leases, see that angle that you're talking about is one that can be traced to some degree. My thing is that I'm thinking that if a movement came, even what you're talking about, Janice, came about where that was going heavy, then these people are not going to respond to that. They're not going to respond to that favorably. They're just not. When I say these people, I'm talking about the people who we have to go to get what belongs to us. Because if they kicked us off our land, the people who kicked us off our land, if you're talking about white people or the Europeans or whoever it is, if somebody possesses the land, the leases. Somebody, like, for example, you got just take here in the land. You got Lenox Mall over there. You know what I'm saying? Somebody owned that land before they put Lenox Mall over it, right? So my point is, even when we trace it back, let's say we trace it back to a black person in America who owned that land and they were kicked off that land, so forth and so on. The people that have exchanged the ownership of that land after stealing from the original owners, they're not thinking about or talking about giving it back to us or giving us any compensation for it. I don't see it happening.
Right. Well, I'll add a little bit more context to it. They're still leasing. A mortgage is not ownership; it's a lease. It's literally a lease. The only people who have clear titles to the land are the people who can trace back to the land patents. The land patents is the allodial title. That's the actual title to the land. So even when you take out a mortgage, it's nothing but you ain't paying nothing but an elevated rent, really. You'll never own it. Because if you default on your taxes 1 year, guess what's gonna happen? The state can take it.
And I get that, but you know what? I want to get Brother Rasaad in. Brother, if when we well, at least from the angle that I'm talking about now, because I'm going into where I am now in speaking with Janice, because of course she has in my view, a legitimate thought of how this, the land leases and I mean, all of those things are definitely it's an angle that we need to definitely look at. I think that what happens is that it's
Yeah.
two things.
Mhm.
Well, from my perspective, it's the
Mhm.
beneficiaries and those who are going to actually allow that to happen. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Even though you can own some in America, like I brought up Rosewood and other places, Tulsa and other places. You can own some in America, but these devils don't care nothing about that.
Mm.
You dig what I'm saying? So my thing is, I'm looking at how would we be able to generate not just a movement, but something that would cause us
Mhm.
to be able to get from them what is owed to us. Am I being clear on my question?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what we've done with the National Reparations League.
Okay.
We're trying to engage with our people in every community. We're not just based in one state or one region. We're trying to get everybody mobilized for what we have to do. Um, when it comes again to the issue of reparations, the first thing we're going to deal with is land and cash payments.
Mm.
Um, but the reason why we're going to deal with them isn't just because they stole that from us. Because we understand cash payments. The reason why we want cash payments, and sometimes we have to correct people who are not in our community because they think it's a handout. And I say, no,
Mm-hmm.
sir. If I come and take your keys out your hand or take your phone out your hand, uh, and you want it back, is that a handout? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So we are demanding what they stole from us because we understand this generational wealth, as one of the sisters was talking about earlier. This is a serious thing. We're talking about the ability to give your children an inheritance. That's a freedom. That's a
That's right.
freedom that white America ripped from our people,
That's right.
ripped it away. And each generation now, that's our problem. That's why you got brothers out here committing crimes, and you got sisters out here probably saying they got to show their body to go out here and just get ahead. We starting from ground zero. Every generation starting over. I got to be the one in my family to make it. I got to be the one in my family to make it. I got to be the one in my family to make it. When your great grandfather, like the sister was saying, a lot of them had it. A lot of them had it. And crimes against humanity was committed against us. Straight terrorism that kept us from being able to give acres and acres and acres of land. Now, we in my family, we have 80 acres in my family. So it's a sensitive issue for me. I know what it feels like to have real freedom. I know what it feels like to walk outside and not see no white people, not see nobody. You understand what I'm saying? That it ain't like our brothers and sisters in the inner city. You walk outside immediately, you don't know what's going on. So we understand that them creating the hood, uh, this was just to get us, take away our land in the South. I call it fish and bait. They say, hey, come to Detroit, come to Jersey, come get this good job, sell your land. Okay. And like one of the sisters said, a lot of them couldn't even read. So, signatures was done with an X. My great grandfather, we have the deed on our land. It was done with an X. So it was easy for white people to manipulate and steal land. And what we have to do is put pressure on a lot of these, excuse my language, these half-ass politicians.
Yes.
These people that's coming in our churches on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
that's coming to our events, and there is nobody really. I hate to say it like that, but there's nobody that's bringing the energy about reparations to the forefront to President Biden like it needs to be. Now we done sent billions and billions. I don't want to hear nobody say nothing about we ain't got the money. That's bull
Exactly.
crap. We just seen how they came up with the money for COVID. We
Mm-hmm.
see how they came up with the money for Ukraine. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to hear that no more.
Mm-hmm.
They come up with the money for white
That's right.
folks,
Okay.
but they don't
Mm-hmm.
want to come up with the money for you.
That's right. Hey, you know what? No question. And that's the thing. I don't think they wanna. I don't think they want to pay. See, my thing is, they're gonna always come up with some excuse as to not give us what's ours.
Mhm.
And as you said, these man, listen, the politicians. Um, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, it's just two wings on the same bird.
Yes, sir.
They all trying to get the white supremacy. They all trying to make sure they control the narrative of power. They just have different ways in which they agree and disagree on how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're the same.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the politicians, I don't care if he Barack Obama or Senator Warnock. You dig? It's like when you have a what you call it, a manager of a Burger King. You dig what I'm saying? They come and manage white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to give us. I mean, it's like accept this incremental. Well, I see people. I saw something the other day, and I've seen people that I respect. I respect them for other things, other aspects of who they are. But then it's like they'll say stuff like, you have to do this incrementally. Get incremental change. Work within the system.
Mm.
And that's the thing. You work within this system, you're going to just get swallowed up by it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? It is not a thing. It's like there is no work within the system. And then when you talk about not working within the system, it becomes a thing of radical thought for people. Like, this is just a radical, in fact, the first thing that comes to people's mind is violence.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like, I don't want to work in this system, they
Right.
get,
Right.
they violent. They feel like you're going to be violent or something. It's like, that's not the only way. That's a last resort. But one thing is for sure, everything that America they got from violence.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Point blank. So when it comes to those who are in power now, them being able to, not just being able to, desiring to do anything. When I say empowered, I'm talking about the politics. I'm talking about the Negroes who in power. When I say empower, I mean the Negroes that's a part of the power structure with no power.
Exactly.
The gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Okay, the gatekeepers, right. Keeping us behind the gate. Them people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't have any trust in them. Now, you did have, what's that brother? Was it Al Green? Al Green is from Michigan, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He used to put the reparations bill in front of Congress every session. I think it was Al Green. I think the brother's name was Al Green. He would put the reparations bill in front of Congress every session. And of course he wasn't nobody with it. Go ahead, baby. Go ahead, sister.
I think that when we're talking about the people who are currently in office, we have to factor in, we have a different lineage than they have. So of course they're going to be placed in as gatekeepers. Most of them don't have great grandparents who are from America. All 8 of my great grandparents are from America. So they were here during the Rolling 20s. A lot of these politicians who we have, they're first generation, they're second generation. And so they're not going to fight our case for us because they have an interest in us not getting reparations and restitution. That they're paid to not help us, if you ask me. And I went after Kamal, and it was very public. I went on MSNBC and went after, and I let it be known, we're not voting for you because we share the same skin tone. I realize that you are Asian. I was telling people not to vote for this lady. This lady
I
is
remember.
Asian. You remember? It was
Yeah.
very public. I got a lot of, I was called all kind of words, okay?
Yeah.
But I think people see, fast forward 2 years later, and people now see what I was saying. She does not serve our interest. None of them do. The Congressional Black Caucus is full of foreigners. They're first generation Americans. They come over here with foreign last names and they change their name to something familiar like Jackson and Johnson and Green, for example.
Mhm.
And then they become one of us. They attend HBCUs like Kamala did, eat some collard greens, and try to amalgamate herself to so that we can vote for her. Now, to me, this all goes back to land, because go back to the landowners. These landowners were electors. They didn't vote, they elected. Now, when you look at the electoral college, you got Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
She what, first generation American? How is she even an elector? What piece of land does she have the title for? Not a deed. What piece of land does she have a title for? What makes her an elector? Now, electors, these are constitutionally superior people. These people just so happen were our color. They were Negroes. They were the people who they said couldn't read or write. It's not that these people couldn't read or write. These people had their own language systems. They had their own writing systems. Even the 5 civilized tribes, so-called 5 civilized tribes, those are 5 writing systems. Those are 5 language systems. Choctaw is a language system. Cherokee is a language system. Seminole, these were language systems. These people weren't runaway slaves.
Right.
They were none of that. They were not slaves for the so-called pink-faced natives that we have today. So,
Right.
so these people don't have our interest in a nutshell. So it takes really, to be honest, it ain't but 2 ways to me to get reparations, restitution. It ain't but 2 ways. Either a system of us have to go in and take over systematically, or you have to take it. And I'm going to tell you, be honest, we're not ready to take it, because our ancestors had what was called militia districts. Literally, they had militia districts all the way up until the Vietnam War, because they were segregated. The military was segregated. So our ancestors had militia districts all over America. The files are still there if you look at them. These militia districts was controlled by black people. They had armies. They were in the air. They were on the water. And it was just all Negroes. But then something happened where the American army was desegregated. Now you all can fight together. This is after the World War I and World War II era, though. So those militia districts was dismantled. They were reconstructed, if you will. And now they're no more. So we have been unprotected literally since that era. When you look at the bigger picture, and that's easy. It makes it easy for land to be stolen and for resources and commodities to be rerouted now. To add this a little bit, and then I'll turn over the mic. When you look at land patents, these titles come with royalties. So there are trust accounts, literally, to every land patent that has commodities on the land. It's housed at the Department of Interior, all the files. These particular trust files, housed at the Department of Interior. Now, this money, these royalty payments, should have been paid to the Negro families by now. But you don't know about it. So you don't know to ask. So it ain't enough of us with this information. And my platforms get shut down every time I teach it. Every time, bro. Every time. And so if enough of us knew the information, it'll be an open and shut case for reparations and restitution, because individually the families are getting their land back. I have not found not one family who went to court, sued over their heirs' property, and didn't get a return. The story out in Bruce Beach, California, the Bruce family, that's just one. That's just one of the many families who had land patents, who have heirs' property, who's gotten their land returned. That's just one of many.
And you know what? And they trying to make it seem like Gavin Newsom was just this benevolent white person that gave it back to them.
No, he didn't give nothing.
I know. Hold on a second. Go ahead, sister. Sister High Heel.
Peace. So, I was just listening to everybody, and what's really the most coming through my mind. Now, first, I'm one of those first generation people, and I definitely wanted to be part of the U.S. Senate because I felt that was the way that I was going to help my people. But when I look at the condition, I don't see why we want a position in their system. I don't want to look to either party. We need to have our own party. We need to have a black party. We have so many educated people within us. We have people that are knowledgeable, that are active. And so for us to continue in the system that we've been in and think that we're going to get anything, I think we're misleading ourselves. Part of me growing up with a parent that is not from here, I didn't have that identity of an American citizen until I became older. And one thing that we always understood is that we're here and we're getting what we need from this country, but you always are going to go home. Now, I know that a lot of people here, they don't have a home to go to because this is where they're from. But I feel that when we keep talking about what they need to give back to us, we need this, we need that, we keep on giving the control to them. And I feel like we have to step away from giving the control to them. We need to make sure that we're having our own now. Like, we have the resources, we have the ability to create our own party. And I don't understand why we don't do that. Like, I'm tired of asking white people for anything. I don't feel that white people will give us anything. And I don't really care to have anything from them. I feel like we need our own. There are a lot of people that have enough money that they can buy land. I feel like we have enough people who can build a political system. And I feel that there are enough of that generation. We watched everybody rally behind Barack Obama, and we were able to have a black president. I feel like we can do that again with a black party, because there are a lot of younger generational white people that do support us, but they support us because they came up with us with hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Now, I do feel like we have to transmute what hip hop is doing as far as for our culture. But I just feel like we keep talking history, and I want to talk the future. Like, I want to know what we're supposed to really do now and moving forward, because we're talking about the past so much. And the more we talk about the past, the more we kind of stay stagnant. And I want to know what other options are there other than reparations to right these wrongs. Like, does anybody have any offerings for that?
Can I answer the question? Please, can I answer?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so when you talk about history, it's a boomerang effect. You have to a slingshot.
And I'm a history major, so I understand history.
A slingshot. So it's a difference between repeating the wrong history and repeating what actually happened. So we're looking at a boomerang effect here. So you pull back, you're talking about history to slingshot everybody forward with the real story of what happened. Now, we have had political parties before, and guess what? We don't have no militia to back a military party. So if you start a party, you run the risk of being targeted. And that's why you don't see Black Americans, Negro Americans in small groups trying to start these little clusters of parties, because we already know what comes with that. Our grandmamas told us, okay, you got to have some protection around this stuff when you start it. So our first thing, and I gave you two options. I said you can either take it. I used to take as an option. Even with taking, you have to have a militia. Now we can sue individually to get reparations and restitution. We can use the wars, the World War I and World War II. The Jews, the Ashkenazi Jews, came to America and literally got restitution for World War I and World War II. All of the oil supply for that war came out of Oklahoma and regions around Oklahoma off of Negro property. This is the history that I'm talking about. World War II, guess what happened to those group of Negroes? Now they're running for the hills because they're being murdered. That to me, they're swinging from trees and they're being burned in public lynchings. That to me is restitution. Okay, restitution worthy. Because what is a Holocaust? A Holocaust is a person being burned. I haven't seen near Oscar Nazi Jew be burned yet. Who was being burned during World War I and World War II? So why aren't we putting these type of claims together? Because our ancestors was victim of the Holocaust. If you look at what happened during World War I and World War II in America, millions of Black Americans were killed. And somehow that part of history, it's not being taught to people who have history majors. I guarantee you that. Because my cousin has a doctorate and he's a history major and he didn't know anything about it until I taught him and showed him the records. Now, when you talk about that part of history, then you can put together a proper claim. But when you are new to this continent, new to this history, you will use slavery as the claim, and you'll get laughed out of the Senate, laughed out of the House, laughed out of Congress every time. Because they know you don't have a claim when you're talking about slavery, not the Negroes in America, because you have to add millions of other people.
Yo, and you know, and this is the thing, and I'm gonna go to brother after this about that, about what you're saying about. Did you want to say something?
I do.
Okay, you know,
I do.
You can go ahead.
I do. Only because, you know, we do have a militia. The Nation of Islam does have a military. Mm-hmm. They do have their own constitution. There is an opportunity there. And I hear a lot of when people say, well, every time we do this, they take it away. Or I hear a lot of fear in mm-hmm. people's voices. And so, you know, I understand the history. But again, I say, like, I want to move past that. And I want us to understand that we do have that ability. There is an ability to create our own. And if we are afraid, then that means we're allowing fear to keep us in the same position that we've been in for centuries. So no matter what we're asking these people for, we're still kind of kowtowing to them, you know? So I keep hearing this fear kind of concept.
I didn't mean to come off as fear. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come off as fear. It's more so strategy. It's strategy. It's not fear. It's strategy. The Nation of Islam is housed in where? Chicago. Look at the Crown Raid in Chicago. So we can't count on the Nation of Islam as a militia. You have to look at the individual families and the power that you have in the individual families. And you have to do a grassroots militia statewide. You can't do the Nation of Islam. We can't necessarily rely on them. That's a religious organization. They got their own ties, foreign ties, whatever the case may be. But when you create a real militia, you already got the blueprint. If you look at the militia districts, we literally already have the blueprint. People just don't have that part of history correct. The blueprint is there. Literally, you got families with militias, with militia districts already that is not being activated. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So it's not fear, it's strategy. Okay, we're out strategized.
Check this out. First, 2 + 2 is 4. Mm-hmm. 3 + 1 is also 4. Mm-hmm. You can get to things and have different views or different methods even, all right? But I think that what ends up happening is that sometimes we get so entrenched in what we know or what we've come to believe, because people generally operate off belief. Generally, people operate off of belief, not knowledge. And so there's some knowledge and there is some belief that we're going to have, and it may differ. Like, for example, there's some propaganda that I see that affects. Let me go back. There's for those who, you know, whether you're a Bible believer or not, But there's this thing in Revelation where it talks about how the dragon cast his tail into the heavens and cast down a third of the stars. And of course, that's a reference. It says stars, and it says a dragon in his tail, but stars represent the elect or the wise people. This is why the same thing that wake you up will put you to sleep. We have to be very careful about going to sleep with the knowledge that we have, because guess what? It happened to the Egyptians. It happened to the Sumerians. They went to sleep too. But I don't want to get too deep into that. But the point that I'm making is that when you look at what we need to move forward, one, you definitely, if you're going to get restitution or reparations, you have to have some context for that. That's history.
Exactly.
That's history. There are things that, like Janice, for example, is saying some things that are that she's saying this right here is something that we can grab onto and say, listen, I got documents that say this about that. So if I'm making a claim, then that claim is made because I can make the claim, but now can I prove the claim? And so she is saying that I say, well, listen, we have some organizations, and you name one, that have a construct already that can be looked at, because it's not just the nation. The nation, yes, there are others, and that's a part of the issue, because everybody wants to get caught up on certain things. They want to get caught up on whether it's because it's a religion. They want to get caught up on whether it's this or that, and some of it is true, some of it's false. But depending on who you are and what you believe, a lot of times it will affect what you see. So there are organizations. It's like the National Reparations League, for example, my man, brother Rasaad. It's like there are other people who have reparations movements. My thing is, because like I said, Janice has what she said, and all of this is very great. It's very great. But I think that what we need to do is have a system by which we can utilize all of it. See, I don't belief again that we should look at these things and then think that I only have the answer, because I don't have it.
Right.
I hope to be a part of the answer, a part of the solution. You dig? And I believe, like what Janice is saying and what Sister High Heels is saying, some of what I've heard Brother say, but we're going to get Brother in. He's been quiet over there. Or we made him quiet. But the thing is, it's like we have parts that we can utilize to get to the goals that we're looking to get to. If we want reparations, well, if we take I'm going to just not take the word reparations, even though I love the word. You dig? If we're saying to people that you did a wrong to us and you need to pay us for the wrong that you did, this is what we're basically saying. When sister was like, well, slavery, once you put that on the table, because there is some murkiness in the slave argument. There is some murkiness in the slave argument, but to do it, to me, you have to do it like a pathologist. You take the dead body of black people, and then you examine it little by little by little by little as you go back into history in order to make the case as to what killed us. You understand?
There you go.
So what I'm saying is that we can utilize all of these things. Do we need another political party? I don't think that America, the system that we are under, the worldwide system. There's a sister that I have on my wall back here. Frances Cress Welsing.
Mhm.
She stated with fact that we live under a worldwide system of white supremacy.
Mhm.
And this system will not just go quietly into the night.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
You dig? So it's not just about taking, because taking is one option, but it's like, how are we going to do that?
No militia, no military.
I mean, even if we, let's say, the issue is that, well, esoterically, we do have a military.
Okay. Now, all right. Okay.
You dig?
Yes.
But
yes,
the thing is,
yes.
it's like we need wisdom.
Mhm.
We need knowledge.
And strategy. Yeah.
And unification.
And these things will be a part of it. But so in order to do that, now we have to do what? We have to of course do what most of us always say, and that's have some unity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is most of us think unity means uniform. It's not. It's not. We're not saying you don't have to be like me. I ain't got to be like you.
Right.
But one thing we have to know and have to understand is what it is that is causing the issues. Not causing the issues. What we are, the thing that we're trying to solve, what we're trying to get, what we're after, and who we getting it from, and why. And not get into too much of, this and that. Man, because honestly, I don't care about that. You dig? All I know is we black, because even when you talk about Africa and other places in the world, I mean, there is some history, and my history goes back more than 2,000 years. But we'll get into that on another program. You dig what I'm saying? I'm talking about before there was a such thing as a white person or Asian or whatever. So we can go back far enough to just wipe them off the planet altogether, them not being on the planet, and we can just start from where we were and what ended up happening to us even getting into the situation that we're in. However, we want to tailor this thing to what we can utilize for the benefit of the whole. That's all. So Brother Rasaad has the National Reparations League, and this brother is in the movement. I haven't bought your books yet, brother, but I do see that you've written a few. You know what I'm saying? It looks like about 12. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. But in your travels, is there anything, not just that sparked you to want to get into this movement and to do this, but is there anything in terms of organization, being able to bring about the things that we need to organize? Because you have, like you said, you have chapters in all over the United States. Because what we need, and this was said by, I think it was Hosea Williams, he said it first, it's like we are out organized. These people, they got power now because they're in a position of power or whatnot, position of power, but we are just out organized. And so sister is right now in terms of the physical, what we have to do before we erect it, we got to have a way to protect it. Because that right there, when she was talking about the militia, that right there is definitely something that needs to happen. So could you talk on that for me right quick?
Mm-hmm. You talking about her or me?
No, I'm talking to Brother Rasaad.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't hear.
Can you hear me, brother?
I don't know if he can hear.
Okay.
Oh, is this all out?
Oh man, one of my batteries.
Oh,
But this is still.
I wonder if you can see. I'm gonna type it.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Can you?
Can you hear me? Can you hear or see anything? Janice, can you hear me? Okay, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
Brother Rasaad. Can't hear you. Can you hear me? Okay, there you go. There you go. Well, you're going in and out. You're going in and out, brother. Yeah, that one right there. Sorry, brother, I can't hear you. Ah. You know what? We gonna make something happen. We're gonna make something happen soon. You know what? Hold your horses though. And try to get to us. And when you do, then just holler out. Sorry. No, because I'm because it's gonna have to be a camera for us right now for you. It's gonna be your camera because this was out.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so when you come in, Rasaad, just say something. You can still hear me though, right, Janice?
Yes, I can still hear you. Mhm.
Okay, great. Okay, well, all I was saying, and like I said, it's about my thing is, in Sister High Heels brought it up, and this is true, and then so did Janice in one way, and that's basically being able to organize because like you said, a lot of people don't know, Janice, just the information to even deal with it. Like if you don't know it's there, how you gonna even deal with it? How you gonna you have information? So let me ask you something, brother. Okay, let me ask you something. How is it? How will? Nah, I'll say it like this: the information that you have is this something? I know you do it, and I know you on it, but is it something organizational that you are dealing, or that you have, or that you're a part of, or if there are other people who, in terms of organization, something that can ball a fist up to try to strike this thing a little bit harder?
Who, me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. I tell you, but what comes with it is death threats, and so I run a really tight operation, if you will. And what I do on the forefront is help people with their genealogy. That's like ground one. If I can tie you back to this land, then I can train you essentially, because you're not going to be a part of the fight. You may get to the table and you may switch sides, but if I can tie you back to the land, then now you have an interest in moving forward with a mission. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to have an interest, like this brother said. This stuff is personal. In one county, my family got 300 acres heirs property, and that's just one county. So this stuff becomes very personal when you have land stolen, because we had thousands of acres in that county and we left with 300. So when you have land stolen and commodities stolen, I was supposed to be born probably a billionaire, but I wasn't. And you just, I don't know, I remember who said it, but you just got to keep starting over generation after generation, because time you build something is taken. So yeah, we have a fist that we can ball up. Right now we're working on a records facility, because in any claim you need records. So that records facility will be here in Atlanta, in a secure area where the airspace is controlled, and so we'll be bombed. So we will have the only Negro-owned records facility, because the last one was bombed, and that was the one that was in Wilmington, North Carolina. If we can just control our records at least for 10 years, 5 years, then the claim will be, a home run.
Okay.
But if we keep doing this stuff individually, the files are starting to be hidden. The files are starting to be manipulated. The files are starting to be erased. It's the same thing that went burning our churches down because we had our lineage in Bibles. They went burning the courthouses down because we had specific records in courthouses. And so all this stuff is tied into our story, is tied into our claim. And so, like, ground zero for us is our records facility. There's quite a few of us working on that here in Atlanta. We do have some military people that's a part of the operation in other states. But I'm open to working with anybody, especially the brother here, who he has a story similar to mine. Like, his family have acres. They found the deed written with an X. See, that deed in his family goes back to a land patent in his family. So they can't move these people off of this heirs property. Whereas somebody who has a mortgage, if you don't pay your taxes, then you're gone. With heirs property, it's different. They have to move us in other ways via like abandonment of the land. And so we have these fists that we can ball up, but like I said, you will need a militia, a military system. That is the most important thing. I know people say, put the matriarchs out in front and but you can't put women out in the front with these type of movements because we're considered soft targets. Now, me, I know how to shoot. I have weapons. However, I'm still considered a soft target. Whereas men out in the front can move more mountain, especially black men, because they fear y'all. You all are more feared than we are. So if we can just put these pieces together, what I know with somebody's movement, with somebody's militia movements, then now we have something, because we have to be protected on all fronts. You have to protect the information that's coming in and going out. You have to protect the elderly. You have to protect a lot of stuff, So
No, I mean, I'm with you on I mean, because all of it is militant. I mean, people think that word is a bad word, but it's not. But all of it is militant, and the thing is like, because you have to definitely look at what's going to be protected. We lost our brother because he was having some connection issues, but we hope to get him back on another program that I'm going to hopefully have all of you back, and we can talk more about this. But we definitely have to erect a construct, because but like I said, I don't think we don't have to remake the wheel, as they say. I mean, we have templates, and that's the thing. And I think when Sister was bringing up the nation, for example, I mean, even when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was talking about, I mean, or doing the work that he was doing, it was basically to lay a foundation. It's not like the thing that was going on in the '60s is supposed to be going on today. Yeah. You dig what I'm saying? You have to come right down to the modern times. And so we have templates, but I think I think a lot of times we misunderstand many things about each other, because we get caught up not only in the propaganda of what's been we hit with, but we also get caught up in not knowing how to apply today what we have from yesterday. If I got some knowledge from Noble Drew Ali, or I got some knowledge from even Martin Luther King, or whomever I got it from, it's like, I can't be trying to apply that today like they did then. You dig? It's different. You dig? So we definitely can make some moves, and it definitely has to be militant. But like I said, words, reparations, restitution, white supremacy, these are some scary words to people. You dig? Yeah. These are scary words to people. You talking about land patents, going into the history. Man, listen, that history is so important. History is my favorite subject. I didn't go to school for it, but I definitely am. I do my thing. You dig? It's like, history is so important that to not understand it, not know it, of course, is to, like Malcolm said, it's like not to have a memory. It's like you have amnesia, and anybody can take advantage of you. when you have amnesia. You remember that movie where the girl fell off the boat or something? I think it was called Overboard.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and she lost her memory, and the guy made her his wife, and they lived in a
Raising the
shack and all
kids
this.
and
Right.
everything for
You
him.
know what I'm saying? She didn't know who she was, so he took advantage of her. She was a rich white woman, and doing a thing. But when she lost her memory, he made her something else. It's because memory, his history in memory is memory. So we definitely need to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start closing shop. I hate to do it. It feels like I'm doing it abruptly, but because there's so much more that we can talk about. But I wanted to get with you, High Heels. I want you, if you have anything else you want to say, get to it, and then we'll get Janice in, and then we'll close it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short. Reparations, I'll be straight up, is not one of my favorite topics, mainly because of the application. Because it becomes, okay, who gets reparations? Okay, what are the reparations? How do we apply reparations? And I'm a real solution-driven person, but I think that ultimately what I gather is needed is really a shift in the way that we do things altogether, as far as the result of not just slavery but the systemic racism.
Hold on a second.
Go ahead.
We back at you. We back at you, brother. We closing out, but I'm gonna definitely give you a chance to put it whatever you need to put in. You've been in and out, so go ahead, sister.
Yeah.
Talk.
Yeah. So ultimately there does need to be something put in place that can right the wrongs of slavery and of Jim Crow and of the systemic racism that we see. But then now moving forward, I just want us as people to move from the history, which is important, and let's start to get solution driven. Let's start to unify. When we talk militia, we do have different resources that I don't feel like we take advantage of. Right. Even when we talk about grassroots and we talk about the nation, there are mosques all over the country. We have to, there's a lot of divisiveness and created because of white supremacy, because they know how to control us through our media. So I feel like if we can really just see all of our strong suits and play everybody's position properly, we could have not just reparations in money and land, but we could have the true rightings of the wrong, like a real reparations for our people, where we see that we have a place here equally.
Okay, I got you. So we got that. I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm gonna leave it. And then Janice, would you want to go ahead and wrap yours up?
Yeah, I gotta wrap up because I do have a show at 9:30.
The singer.
I have. I'm be on YouTube. I'm be on my backup channel.
Channel.
Okay. This reparations issue, I almost seem racist in a sense, because I want people to be shut out the conversation. If it was up to me, nobody who great grandparents are from America would even have a say. And the reason I would tailor it like that is because, again, you may get to the table and you may switch. You may get paid to switch. When you look at, you say we can't use, the older people, what they did. But I would like to add this. When you look at Martin Luther King's last words, before they took him out, he was talking about land. And he was talking in particular about how our land was stolen and that we are coming to get our check. Now, when he did that, that was about land. Now he had to be taught the correct thing because he was on the other people's side. When he switched back to the Negro side, he started talking that talk because he saw, they did take our land. It was 970 something thousand Negro farmers. That don't include farms. That put us all the way over in the millions as it relates to farms. And so our banking system was shut down. That alone. So this reparations conversation has to be tailored. A lot of foreigners got here, a lot of a lot of black foreigners got here after 1960. They start coming in droves after the 1980s. So a person who just got here in the 1980s or the 1960s can't possibly have the same passion and the ancestral backing that those of us who's been here, who got the Akashic records here in America, who when we put our feet on the soil, like you said, it is an esoteric military. When we put our feet on the soil, this information comes to us. This protection comes to us for a reason, because we're rooted here. America has the oldest root system in the world. We had the oldest trees in the world here in America. It wasn't the place that they call in Mama Africa. It was here in America. There was a tree called Methuselah and Prometheus. So all this stuff has to be added in. And to close out, I'm here to work with, people who are down for the mission. And I could tell if you're down for the mission by what you say and what you do. So I'm here. I have records. I have access to the records, and I know how to research to get what we need in order to put a good claim together. So, and I'm with I ain't with no BS. Okay,
I know
no
you're not
BS
BS.
type
I know
person.
you ain't no BS. I know you ain't with no BS, sister.
Go ahead, girl.
All right. So thank you very much. And
Thank
like I
you all
said,
for having me.
no, my pleasure. Thank you for coming in. Hopefully you'll come back. We're gonna do this again because I need to get more of my brother Rashad in. He's been in and out today, so we're gonna get on him right now. And
Absolutely. Look forward to part two.
yes, ma'am. No question,
It was
brother.
beautiful to hear you, sis. I
You
love
as
I
well.
love hearing you and your knowledge. It's beautiful, and
Yes,
she beautiful, so
yes,
I
Thank,
love it.
yeah,
thank you, sister. Look forward to building with you soon.
Yeah.
brother Rashad. Janice, if you got a ride, you can go
Peace,
ahead. I
family. Can y'all hear?
appreciate you.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
thank you, dear brother Rashad. We wrapping up. We wrapping up
Me?
now, but I need to get you up in here, brother. You know what I'm saying? Give me what you need to say because like I said, hopefully we'll have you better on the next one because I like to bring you back, bring all three of you back, and we can get into the next
Right,
phase of this thing. So, but go
right.
ahead and give us something, give us something to ride with.
Well, can y'all hear me okay?
Oh yeah, hear you great now, brother.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Um, so, this has been a great conversation. First of all, I just want to say thank you, brother, for bringing this issue to your platform. There's so many things you could be talking about tonight, but you decided to talk about reparations. So, salute to you, first and foremost.
Praise be to the
Salute
Lord.
to the sisters for having the courage to speak on this. The sister mentioned fear earlier. It ain't that we work from a state of fear. I would say that, every time we do unify, we know a lot of our political leaders are in prison to this day. It's been done and it's constantly being done, but our oppressor isn't like any other oppressor. See, it was
Mm.
only our people who was really uh, told to erase all culture, all like even the drum was not allowed in the United States of America.
Mm,
They just outlaw so many things to keep us from knowing ourselves. So that warrior spirit, I think we're getting it back. But the sister mentioned it earlier. It's only two ways you can deal with white supremacy, and that's loss of life or loss of profit. Now, I'm not going to advocate for violence tonight,
yeah.
but what I will say, if you ain't out here picking up arms, to which I'm not advocating, I do advocate self-defense though. I advise you that you take care of where you put your black money at. Yeah,
Yep.
it's very crucial because when we get reparations, not if we get reparations, when we get reparations, the worst thing we can do is give our money back to white folks.
Thank you.
To which some of us is, that's why it's actually going to be beneficial for white people that we
Right.
get reparations. Because some black people ain't going to stop shopping in Louis Vuitton, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's going to stimulate the entire country. And, you know, one of the sisters she mentioned, what our political leader we can do, we can have another Barack Obama or something like that. Barack Obama
Oh no, I was saying
literally said no, we ain't he wasn't for no reparations. So we got to make sure that we get the right type of person because I always say Barack Obama was not African American.
yeah. Oh no.
That
I
was a victory for Kenya. and Kamala Harris was a victory for
Oh, they did.
Jamaica.
Oh, Jamaica.
So it's like we still, as African Americans, we really haven't had no vice president or president yet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the agenda against us is so strong and so consistent that it does take a equally aggression, if you will, from our people to get what is owed and to try to have not just a life of survival, but a life that we can thrive. Reparations isn't a handout again. Reparations is what's yours. And if your family was here uh, picking cotton and in them slave fields, you deserve reparations. I don't get one thing. I want us to be clear though: indentured servitude is not slavery.
Yeah.
Indentured servitude is not slavery. Indentured servitude, you can eventually get out of that indentured servitude. So our slavery was very, very unique. Indentured servants wasn't told that they couldn't read. It wasn't against the law or in the books. They weren't told that they were 3/5 of a human being. That was only done to our people.
That's
And when
right.
we're talking about the rapes,
Mm.
that we will have to bring up slavery. We can't.
Yeah.
We're not just going to talk about what happened after. We're going to walk and we're going to chew gum at the same time because, put it like this: there's a lot of light skinned people in my family.
Yeah.
We don't see no white people in the old pictures. You know.
Right.
So
Yes, sir.
I'll
But
let you figure out how we got light.
you know, you know what we when you
Mm-hmm.
when you say that it's like these folk. I want to go into the next episode. I mean, the next episode that I ask y'all to come back on is I actually do want to walk through because
Mm-hmm.
even though the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that it's the study of history that rewards our research. We have to know that in such a way that we can actually it all. He said there's two type of prophets. It's the prophet that is divine. Is the one that is the study of history. You can look at history and you can tell the future if you know it. You understand. So it's like I do want to walk through.
Yes.
What happened?
Yes.
Because it's not just it's a knowledge of what happened, but it's also to ignite. Because to ignite in the person or in the I'm sorry, in the in people, like the fervor that we need to move forward.
Yeah.
Because we have to get ignited. And it's just like when people see a brother get killed by the police or something like you know, for that moment they then they get calmed down because there's so much stimulus out here.
Yes.
It's like we need things that will ignite us.
Right.
You dig what I'm saying? So I want to walk through that history. I want to get into it so we'll know it and we can tie it to not only because I'm talking about Wells Fargo, I'm talking about United Health, I'm talking about Southern Bell, which is now AT&T. I'm talking about all these brokerage houses. That money,
Georgetown, University of North Carolina.
All these institutions that were built with this money, with slave money. See, I want to walk through that. You dig what I'm saying? Right. So because it's like it's the knowledge and it's also the knowledge and it's the ignitement. Go ahead, brother.
What?
I'm gonna let you. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that the money is so crucial aspect. We have to understand that cotton was the #1 trade in the United States. And we was the only one picking. It was our people that was picking it. And we got none of that. So the idea that we're going to talk about reparations without cash payments is illogical.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get
There's
some
no
cash
way in
too.
hell.
Yeah, I did want to say I wasn't saying about
knowing that they built.
I'm sorry.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Brother, can you hear?
Oh, please go ahead, sister.
No, I was going to say I wasn't
Yes.
referencing Barack Obama as someone that I was championing. I don't believe that he was our president. He was set
Right.
to handle white affairs. I was saying that if we had the ability to create that type of support for somebody who was put into the White House, I believe that we could still create that type of support for a black party that is for us, by us, not just another, puppet that was put into run white affairs. Because I personally don't believe that Barack Obama was our president in any way, shape, or form. That was just something that they gave to us to make us feel like we were getting a piece of this country. But that's all. I just wanted, because my blackness was not going to let me go on record to look like I felt Barack Obama was our savior. I just couldn't let that slide.
Yes, sir. Brother, you want to
no doubt, no doubt.
Go ahead.
Yeah. My thing is this. When we put somebody in office, whoever it be, we got to make sure that they really for us.
Yeah.
Like there can't be no, like we get. I call it in basketball. You call it a pump fake. We get pump fake so many times.
Mm-hmm.
So here's some voting rights. Are the solution. But I just say this, my brothers and sisters, everybody listening. This is the issue. This is the issue that's affecting whether you're talking about discrimination in housing, discrimination on the job, discrimination in banking, healthcare, all these things, police brutality, all these things are the domino effect of not having reparations, not being able to control your environment. Quick story. My cousin one time got pulled over driving in a so-called Jewish community. And he used to call me like, yo, bro, I can't, I hate going through this community. I always get pulled over. And it's so weird. I'm like, what you talking about? He said, where's the quickest way to get to work? So I go through this neighborhood, but when I get pulled over, it's always an Italian cop. I said, an Italian cop? He said, yeah, the Jewish people hired the Italians to police their community. I said, damn, that's how they do it. They don't police the community within. They're policing people that are not from that community. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's when you have an economic power. We know there's other white societies. They don't had their own police departments and stuff like that. All these things can be fixed with what is rightfully ours. And all of this is because they still see us as 3/5 of a human being. They don't want to give you the reparation that they gave Japanese Americans because they don't see you as a human being like Japanese. They don't want to give you the reparation like they gave white slave masters because they don't see you as a human being like a white slave master. You see, this is a matter of trying to dehumanize us. And this generation, our generation, we're saying no more, no longer. We're coming back for everything.
We want it all, black man. Hey, brother, I want to thank you, man. We've been on this thing, and you know what? Like in the connection that you're having, hopefully next time it'll be much tighter.
So much of what
he has to say. Right?
I'm like, so.
But and I'm gonna reach out to you. I'm gonna see when you're available as well as sisters, and I want to walk through this thing a lot more rather. But I want, like I said, I want to even look at the institutions that benefited from us that are still here. You dig? Because we're gonna have to press these folks.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? We have to press these folks. So I want to thank you for coming, brother. And I want to thank everybody that tuned in, that did comments and so forth and so on. And we don't have an outro on my show just yet. So the outro is basically me just saying, God willing, I'll see you soon. Peace and hair grease.
Hey.
All right, brother. Peace.
Peace, family.